What's good, folk? How y'all doing today? It's your man Donald King. I am back in here to make you sing. I don't know why I always feel this stupid need to try and rhyme something with that, but apparently I do. So, anyway, cheers. So, today we're going to tackle a big one. This is big. I don't even know if I'm in the right headspace to do this, but we're here now and might as well take a swing at it. This is part of the A Bit More Relatable series. Again, being what I am, or at least purport to be, is an experience unique to my life, and trying to explain a lot of the things that I see to people who have no frame of reference for what I'm talking about. You know, that sometimes that can seem like a bit of a stretch. So, in an effort to bring things down to a more relatable level, I've started this little branch off series of the podcast where I'm talking about things that most people can relate to. You know, talking about the problems in the black community. This is very difficult. First of all, before I even get into this, non-black cowardly ideologues who want to use what I'm about to say as an opportunity to chime in with your aggression and your ignorant tribalism. First of all, I'm going to delete all of your comments, and then I'm going to block you. Okay? This isn't about you or your desire to point fingers at anyone and blame, or your desire to feel like morally superior in any way, shape, or form. This isn't about you. This isn't about you. Narcissism is never welcome on my page. It's not welcome on my posts. If you show up trying to compete, I'm not with you. I'm not your friend. I'm not your pal. I have zero tolerance for narcissism. None. You take that shit somewhere else. So, oftentimes black people we've been accused of, thinking like crabs in a barrel. A lot of people don't understand what that means, but I'll make it really simple for you. Crabs in a barrel, they're all pulling the other one down, trying to get out themselves. At least that's how it's perceived by humans. The basic principle that's being conveyed through that statement there is people who prioritize competition over cooperation. People who prioritize competition over cooperation. That's what black people are most often accused of. Prioritizing competition over cooperation. This is sort of a trifecta effect, all right? So here's what I want you to understand. There's a sort of trinity that applies to an aggressive outlook and state of mind and or mentality. It's a trinity, okay? And this is the trinity basically the trinity of corruption by proxy of parasitism, aggression, competition, and narcissism. They're part of a figurehead. They're a triune. They go together. You cannot build with anyone you view as a rival. You cannot create with anyone you perceive as a rival. You can't bond with anyone you perceive as a rival. Every single art form that black people have been allowed to excel in, every single art form that black people have been allowed to excel in is all based in competition. Do you think it's a coincidence that I'd say 20% of R&B songs from black people have to do with stealing someone else's significant other? Do you think that that's a coincidence? Do you think that, for instance, I don't even listen to hip hop. I love the art form. But do you think it's any coincidence that it's the only popular art form in which there's considered to be a GOAT? In which everyone spends their entire time talking about themselves and how good they talk, or how much they've acquired, or how important they are, or how people are hating on them. It's all rooted in narcissism. It's all rooted in competition. It's all rooted in aggression. Using words as percussion, using words as a percussive instrument is genius. You can tell stories with words that you can't tell with a drum set. You can add irony, you can add allegory, you can add metaphors, you can add just beautiful imagery. The art form is amazing. What is it used for? What is it used for? It's used to corrupt. Every single element, every single aspect of what you know growing up in poorer black communities is competition. And by proxy of competition, aggression. And by proxy of aggression, narcissism and vanity. You're being sold your own destruction. In every art form coming to you, you're being sold your own destruction. When did this division come between niggas and bitches? How can you build, how can you bond with someone you perceive as a rival? How can you trust someone who you're in competition with? The other day I had this podcast that I put up in which I'm talking about the friend zone, but that's sort of an extension of what I was talking about in terms of relationships, right? People, they don't know how to form bonds with people because, well, we're raging narcissists. We're groomed to be raging narcissists. You don't know how to form bonds with people. You only know how to compete for dominance. That's what competition is. Competition is an attempt to subdue and or dominate another individual. So you have all these narratives that stay in circulation in the black community where bitches ain't shit, niggas ain't shit. And then everybody's like, why can't we get our shit together? Why can't we get our shit together? How? How do you get your shit together when the only thing you know how to do is try to compete against your neighbor? You can't build anything with someone you perceive as a rival. I'm talking about black people, but this applies to the species at large. So I'm not targeting black people here specifically, but it's like the discourse is always somehow steered towards blaming black people for this social circumstance that was created for them and that they were thrust into and or that was thrust upon them. How to solve it? How do you fix the shit? Again, this applies to the world at large. This applies to humanity at large. The reason for this is because black people, well, in perfect proportion, you're like the sample size that represents the entire globe, the entire global populace of humanity. What's happening to black people happens to the entire world. It's scaled perfectly. It's scaled perfectly. And I'm not saying this is a person who's operating from a space of belief. I'm saying this as a person who hosts an entity that allows them to see all the shit at a mechanical level. Humans, parasites. You think like masters or slaves. And even those who are masters think like slaves. You know what makes black people struggle so much in life? The fact that they prioritize looking important ahead of excelling. It's the slave mindset. Harriet Tubman said, it's something to the effect of, I freed 1,000 slaves and I could have freed thousands more if they didn't know, or better yet, how did she say that? I could have freed 1,000 more, but they didn't know that they were slaves. And I'm paraphrasing. For some reason, it eludes me right now. But that's the house nigga versus field nigga mentality. When you want to look important and you prioritize looking important and or capturing authority and holding authority over others, you willingly resign to subjugation just so long as you can feel superior to the next man. You sell yourself into slavery so that you can feel superior to someone else. That's how slaves think. Slaves can't tell the difference between looking important and feeling powerful and actually being free. That applies to the species. You don't know the difference between trying to look important and trying to feel more powerful than the next person and secure by comparison and actually experiencing freedom and autonomy. Slaves can't tell the difference. Competition. Competition is what kills black people. I want you to think about this. If you've ever heard the stories of Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street, within a short period of time after slavery in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, a group of black people came together and cooperated and built a self-sustaining community that was thriving in a very short period of time. In a very short period of time, they were thriving. Then all of a sudden, they got attacked and destroyed. And then these art forms come out wherein the nigga mentality gets pushed to the forefront. And everybody's talking about them having a good time and having multiple men and multiple women and getting drunk. During the civil rights era, black people, they came together, didn't they? They came together and they embraced excellence. People went to university. They went to university and they built themselves up and they start building their communities. And you have this moment of unity where all of a sudden you start seeing this people. 13% of the U.S. population start to rise from under this oppressive hill that's been kicking them down for so long. You see them rising. And then as soon as, Martin Luther King gets assassinated in the hospital, apparently, not at the hotel. What happens? Blaxploitation films flood Hollywood. All of a sudden, cooperation is out the window and nigga me first. It takes over. It takes over. Then all of a sudden, you have this movement where hip hop comes out, and then all of a sudden people start using it to sort of collectivize and find a sense of identity. Then real nigga shit hip hop hits. All of a sudden, everything is about competition again. It's about commercialism and consumerism and trying to outdo the next man, subjugating and defeating women, dehumanizing each other. That's the move, right? So, here we are. Civil rights finishes. Then all of a sudden, blaxploitation, bam! Everything is about pimps and hustlers and glamorizing prostitution and everything that's moral and debased. Then all of a sudden you get this sort of women's lib movement wherein black women start devaluing men. Hey, I don't need you. And black men, conversely, are like, oh, you're just a... And they can't trust each other. They can't build. They can't do anything. They can't even communicate. How the fuck do you communicate with someone you're trying to compete against? How do you understand someone you're trying to compete against? Can't have conversations. All you know how to do is argue. You have to dominate. You have to be right. Can't understand each other. The other day I was talking to my brother G. G Smooth. He has a beautiful wife right now. They're very happily married. You know how and why that's possible? Because he doesn't view her as competition. She doesn't view him as competition. They're fucking teammates. They build together. They try to understand each other's perspective. They try to understand each other's perspective on life, and that allows them to bring value to each other because they're thinking systemically. They're thinking about the relationship as a system of interaction between two individuals, as opposed to something that they can use to facilitate and take what they facilitate what they want and take what they want. In the black community, oh my God, everything is about competition. I had a friend whose own family members competed against her. Competed against her. Her father competed. Brilliant person. Brilliant person. No one sat here and was like, hey, let me uplift this person and help them get to where they're trying to go in life. They're like, yo, nah, this bitch thinks she's this and she thinks she's that. Trying to dominate, trying to preserve some core sense of authority over this individual. You know how fucking ignorant that is? When you're in the competitive mind, you can't think. The only thing you have to do is preserve your inner narrative, usually at the expense of someone else. I don't have to have better things than you in order for me to be comfortable around you. And if I do, then that shows that there's some sort of deficiency within me. You know how many friends I have, or alleged friends I have, where they do something that's amazing, or they do something that's worthy of commendation, of commendation and recognition, and I'm right there like, you did that, yeah! Only to have them turn around and turn a blind eye to everything that I do. I'm literally a fucking avatar. I'm a mythical creature. Not bragging, it's the truth of my life experience. Never once will they acknowledge it. Why? Because they see me as competition. Like, even if I wasn't an avatar, let's just say that I was a dude whose brain worked exceptionally well. They can't acknowledge anything that puts me within a realm of ability that they themselves do not have access to or dominion over. When you walk around in a competitive mind, it makes you aggressive. You want to know why it makes you aggressive? Because when you're competitive, you're always trying to preserve your value. You're trying to preserve your identity. What is the identity? You hear me say this often. It's the collection of stories, meanings, symbols, beliefs, ideals, habits, practices, and sociological effects and treatments that individuals collect throughout the course of their lives and seek to self-actualize through. The identity is the story, the inner story. It's the story that the actor tells themselves about the world around them and their place and value within it. If I think that I'm the shit, and you come along and you perform in a way that undermines my value and threatens my inner story, then I have to experience aggression. I have to aggress against you to protect me, to protect my narcissism. Your music is rooted in narcissism. It's rooted in competition. You can't build. You can't hear, you can't understand. You can't do anything but try to defeat the next man. Every single thing you do revolves around ego and narcissism. And it's even worse with social media. Social media has exacerbated narcissism to a degree that you're almost unreachable now. Every fucking thing is you celebrating you. How fucking potent you are, right? How awesome you are. How you shine. Got all these haters, don't you? You can't see reality or the world in front of you if you never put that proverbial fucking mirror down. You never learn how to bond with people, how to build with people, how to learn from people, how to grow with people. If you can't stop focusing on you. I want you to think about this. Every time you see a movie with some protagonist in awkward, I won't even say awkward, let's say like a comically like delusional scene wherein they're really feeling themselves and they're sort of divorced from reality and they're just walking in slow motion and they just have hip hop playing in the background. You think that's a coincidence? You think that's a coincidence? That you're being told very directly, this is what it looks like when a clown takes themselves too seriously. Melissa McCarthy walking in slow motion, and then, yeah, it's like, come on. You think that's a coincidence? Trinity, narcissism, aggression. Narcissism, aggression, and competition. Narcissism, aggression, and competition, they're mutually inclusive. All the aggression right now. I want you to think about this. Look at this shit right here. All these kids. Have you seen? When I was a kid, when I was a young man, about 16 years old, I lost my homeboy Wahid Abdullah. And I would love to say me and Wahid were closer than we really were, but he was such a good guy, man. He was such a good guy. Some kid killed him for a pull-out radio. The kid was so lost in his inner story. He was so lost in his inner story and so desperate to feel value and to feel important as compared to others that without even understanding the impact of his actions and his decisions in reality, he took someone's life just to feel important. You know, that was the first time I ever cried when I saw someone die. That was the first time someone in my peer group, who's someone who I interacted with, had died. And it cut deep, man. It didn't even seem real all the way until they closed his casket. It didn't seem real until they closed his casket, but that it cut deep. It cut deep. And even like as an adult thinking back on it now, it's even sadder because here you have this little boy who thought that he was going to get all these rewards and accolades. Maybe he would be some hood star or something like that for doing one of the worst things you could possibly do, because he couldn't tell the difference between his inner story and the story that was being fed to him by the world around him and what was happening in reality. That applies to the black community at large. None of your problems get fixed until you stop competing against each other, man. You can't solve anything. You can't understand anything. Everything is based in competition. I don't watch. Everybody always asks me, how'd you get so smart, Donald King? Where'd you learn all these things, Donald King? A lot of it has to do with me being a thing, but it also has to do with the fact that, I don't practice poison in my mind. I don't watch a lot of sports. I do watch like MMA contests and stuff like that, mostly because it's like I'm more of a fan of perseverance than I am of seeing who will win or lose. Like I like seeing what people can do just based on like their inner ability and whatnot. But I don't tweak on sports. I don't tweak on I don't watch a lot of competitive of anything that's based in competition. I don't feed my desire to compete. This is the thing that you all don't understand. Competition is an addiction. Narcissism is an addiction. Aggression is an addiction. The more you indulge these things, is the more hopelessly addicted to them you become. You get addicted. You get addicted to narcissism. You get addicted to self-idealizing and taking a bunch of fucking selfies all the time and talking about how fucking great you are. It's an addiction you're feeding. You get addicted to aggressing against people and taking your anger and frustrations out on people. It's addictive. If you look at the last presidency, what you saw in all of the supporters and everything was a bunch of aggressive people being given the green light to lash out at other people, and they were indulging that fucking addiction. Hey, someone's in a socioeconomically disadvantaged position to you, take your shit out on them. Hey, they deserve our wrath. Nah. Addicts. It's real easy to hate addicts when they do bad things to us, right? It's real easy to forgive ourselves when we're indulging our own addictions, isn't it? Fathers competing against mothers. Parents competing against children. Children competing against parents. Children competing against each other. All the tribalism. All the desire to assert authority. The idealizing and worshiping of money, which is nothing more than liquid authority, which is nothing more than an opportunity to stunt on motherfuckers and or feel important to them by comparison. You know how many women are out here like, oh, I can't have a man without money. And all these dudes, I don't want no broke bitch. You don't even know how to find somebody who actually fits with you at a spiritual level because you're so busy wanting to stunt on people at the social level. It boils down to competition. How is this person going to make me look compared to other people? Translation, how are they going to add to my ability to compete against peers and rivals, which I can't tell the difference between? What are my family going to think if I bring this person around and they don't look the way that I expect them to look? How am I going to stunt on my family? How is this person going to make me look more important? Thinking like fucking slaves. What about my peer group? How am I going to stunt on people if they don't live up to my expectations? Thinking like slaves. That's what it is. It's slave thinking. Yo, I ain't seen anybody chime in on this one, so who knows if anybody's watching this or if it gets shadow banned, because I know what I am, and those who try to block me know what I am too, but I would strongly suggest against that. I like chewing gum when I talk on camera. Helps me focus. Anywho, yo. I was going to cut this one short, but it's like, you know what? I think I covered the majority of the points that I wanted to hit on. You can't build with anybody you're trying to compete against. You can't understand anyone who you're trying to compete against. If you're in the ideologue mindset, only fucking thing you know how to do is compete. That's the only thing you know how to do. How do you escape that? Ironically, by following Jesus' own words. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Well, guess what? In order to know the truth, you got to be fucking honest. It starts with honesty. Honesty is the individual's will and effort to recognize and sync up with reality. If you're not trying to understand and sync up with reality, and you're trying to make all of reality become consistent with your inner story and your desire to stunt on motherfuckers and flex and feel powerful and important, guess what? You're corrupted. If you're corrupted, well, you are out of sync with reality, and you will be a slave to that trinity: competition, aggression, narcissism. You want free from that bondage, don't you? You want to be happy, don't you? Feel powerful and capable in life. I think you do. Biggest problem with being a parasite and living and thinking as a parasite is that, well, parasites only know competition. When you think about a disease trying to overtake a body's system, disease doesn't know how the fucking body works at all. All it knows is that it wants to compete and overtake the body. And all of a sudden, the disease competes and overtakes the body and ends up killing the body and dying along with the body because it didn't understand the body. All it wanted to do was win the contest. Wanted to compete and win. That's what low-level parasites do. All they know how to do is fucking compete. And as long as you have a competitive mind, as long as you harbor aggression and hatred and animus within you, as long as you are constantly idealizing yourself and or indulging in narcissism, which again is an addiction to self-idealizing, you think like a parasite. Your thinking is limited by into parasitism, and parasitism is 100%, 1,000% of the time off. It falls short. You can't focus on reality if you never put that fucking proverbial mirror down. You want to heal the black community? Come together. Just ditch competition. Just ditch it. You don't need it. Cooperate. Try to understand each other. Stop listening to people who say convenient shit, things that are close to how you feel inside and or that come within earshot of your inner story, and pay attention to what the fuck is happening in reality. You are not the star of everything. Learn that lesson. Look to your left, look to your right. See that you're not dealing with enemies. And not just black people, man. It's like nobody don't think tribally towards anybody. You see problems in the world, heal problems in the world. If you're thinking about you, it isn't about your group, which is an extension of your identity. You see problems, make shit better. Funny thing about it is, if you start trying to heal the world all around you, it doesn't matter if you try to or not, you automatically heal the black community. You heal family structures. You stop generational curses and wounds. But just trying to be a good person and make an impact, a positive impact on the world around you, in general, you make all of the problems that you have this narrow focus on, you make them all disappear anyway. Yo, I ran long. Y'all already know what it is. You can catch me on social media. I'm on Facebook Live, obviously, right now. But you can catch me on Instagram. Catch me on YouTube. I'm on Medium. I need to make some new content there. But, you can also join the Patreon family. Avatar Cycle XXIII. Avatar XXX. That would be that'd make for a different movie. It's like... Yeah, I can sit up here. Hey, how you doing? No. See, I did too much there. It was going to be funny, and I dropped the ball. Shame. But, you can check me out on social media platforms. Also, if you ever get any sort of benefit out of what I'm talking about and you just want to bless your boy with a little bit of love, you can always hit me up on Donnie Kang, Cash App, just like, yo, here's some love, bro, whatever. Everything goes towards trying to build this up to a larger platform. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to be in this body, and at least as long as I'm in this form, I can translate what I see through this perspective into the English language, and hopefully I'll be able to reach as many people as I can before I'm out. Because, again, y'all need to know this stuff. What I'm trying to explain to you are rules, the principles of reality, and regardless of whether or not you're aware of them or whether or not you want to acknowledge them, you're absolutely beholden to them, and you need to understand these things. In fact, you need to clear the way so that other people can hear and understand these things too. And, that is how you I guess, positively impact reality, at least get started on reversing the negative impacts you've made as a product of just being born into a shit situation. Again, I don't point fingers at any individual or group because we were all born into this mess together. But, at a certain point, we do become aware that, we're having a negative impact. And once we become aware that we have a negative impact, or even and once we're mature to the point that reality can communicate to us that we're making a negative impact on it, and we choose to block it out, it exponentially multiplies all of the negative impacts we're making, because then intention is involved, and reality doesn't play that shit. So my suggestion would be help clear the path for this thing I'm hosting to be heard. It doesn't work to your detriment, I'll tell you that much. But anywho, I leave you all to enjoy your evening. I thank you for your time if you've actually paid attention to this. This is your boy, Donald King, signing out. And y'all have a wonderful evening, all right?